Hello, everybody, and welcome to the newest episode of the Theater Enthusiast podcast. Today, I have the writer and performer of The Creeps. I don't know, should I do it more creepily? The Creeps. Oh, I think that works. Playing at the Playhouse 46 at St. Luke's Theater. Please welcome Catherine Waller. Woo! 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 I always
Yeah.
told people I had this app on my phone that just like was an applause app, and
We're
I would
like, "Wah, wah, wah."
yeah. So like now I feel like whenever I have somebody come on and I do an intro like that, they end up like also joining in. So I'm curious to see what like people's like, "We're back, welcome." It's going to be. Yeah.
Ow.
I asked somebody, I'm like, because they were into WWE. I'm like, if you were WWE, what would your intro be? So maybe like that should be a thing. Like if you
Oh,
were a
that's,
wrestler coming out, be
oh
like,
my God. I would, I'm like, what would I say?
or like you're,
I'd channel Betty Gilpin from Glow. She's iconic. That
yeah.
whole, I mean, yeah, that wrestling character, that was
Yeah.
iconic. It's gotta be.
Or, I mean, I don't know, because I know you're from New Zealand. I don't know if you've heard of like the Real Housewives, or like what would your
Oh God.
housewives tagline be?
Right. I must say, I do not watch a lot of reality TV.
That's fine.
I've not watched Real Housewives. I just can't bring myself to do it. I don't know what I'm missing out on, but I
Well,
can't
know,
bring myself to do it.
for me, I only watch Orange County, and like
Yeah.
nobody else I know watches it. Like nobody else I know likes a majority of the things I like. So that's why I end up going to like Coldplay by myself, or like I'm going to see this band called
Great.
Keen next year by myself, which I'm totally fine with seeing concerts by myself. Um, but like nobody I know can appreciate like the Real Housewives of Orange County, and I can't talk to anybody about it.
I'm sorry. I wish I could vibe with you right now. I just don't know anything. I
It's
truly
fine. Love
don't.
it. Maybe like watch them have like a Real Housewives of like off-Broadway, and then you can, well, you
Oh,
can like
yes.
make your creeps characters kind of like a house, even though not all of them are housewives, or like maybe I don't want to give too much away,
Mhm.
but
Well,
yeah,
that's brilliant because I feel like that'd be really, really fun. I think that'd shock all of the other housewives
yeah.
if I was to turn up in my leotard and manipulate the heck out of them. It would be very good television, I must say.
You know, they have had so many parodies of the Housewives that because you're also a producer, writer, all that stuff, I'm sure you can do some sort of creeps, like web series, movie, TV thing of your characters.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. Okay. I'm gonna have to like email you and maybe
Oh, please.
we'll like
I'm available.
collaborate because this is
Yeah.
actually kind of brilliant. It's a brilliant idea.
That's what I'm here. I feel like I always give people like great ideas and they're like, wait a minute, what? I'm like, you're welcome. Like
Yeah,
I
right.
to somebody, they're like, I want to do more Shakespeare. I'm like, Shakespeare's free. Go to Central Park and put on a production of Romeo and Juliet at like the castle, where does the Belvedere Castle? Like nobody's gonna stop you. People will
It's
sit and
true.
watch. Yeah.
It's true. And in New York, for sure, nobody's gonna stop you.
Yeah, like over 10 years ago, my friends and I were in like the mall in Central Park, you know, that area where everybody like plays music or does caricatures. There was a girl with a whiteboard who had a list of different monologues, and she just stood there performing them.
How lovely is that? That's amazing.
Yeah. Sorry, I told you we got sidetracked when we
No,
talked
this is
about that.
cool. I love these.
Yeah.
I love these chats.
Yeah, thank you. So now that we like realize you don't have a housewives tagline, which is fine.
Sorry. No,
It's okay. Maybe like you should come up with a tagline for each one of your creeps characters.
that's a good idea. I could do that. I could do that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Maybe like if you did like a radio play, be like, this is Bob. Hey, cats. Like, I
Yes.
don't know. Yeah. Anyway, enough about that. So let's start from the beginning. Where are you from?
Yes. Hello, everybody. Great to be here. Originally, I'm from Auckland, New Zealand,
Mhm.
Aotearoa, the land of the long white cloud. I am lucky enough to be a dual citizen. So my parents are from Cincinnati, Ohio,
Oh, nice.
and my sisters and I were born and raised in New Zealand. A little bit of a long story. I'll just say the Cliff Note version is it was a World War II story, a marriage story. An American soldier met my nana, who was a Kiwi, and then they got married and had kids, and my mum was one of them. So that's where the kind of New Zealand Cincinnati
Yeah.
marriage comes from.
Hmm.
But I'm lucky enough to be a dual citizen, so I've was born and raised in New Zealand, and used to come and visit America with my family.
Hmm.
And and I was so lucky to just have a passport. I could walk off the plane and set up my life here. And so I was living in Los Angeles right after I graduated drama school, so
Hmm.
12 years ago, and lived there for about 6 years, and then moved to New York because it was always a dream. I always knew I was going to live in New York at some point, and it was
Yeah.
just kind of and then suddenly it was the right time, and I've
Yeah.
just loved it ever since.
And here we are. So,
Mhm.
what got you interested in performing and the performing arts and all the aspects of it? Because, again, like I mentioned, you do so many things other than perform. So, what got you interested in that?
Yes. Let's see. I think I remember as a kid, um, we were like somewhat of a musical family. Like, there's so I grew up with my mother's side of the family.
Hmm.
And my uncles were always kind of playing guitars, and we were always like singing or, having parties and karaoke. And we were a really tight family. Um, and they were super into music. My dad, like, loved Carlos Santana, and I used to get off the bus coming home from school and could hear from two blocks away his music blasting on a Friday night. Like, he was such a rocker. So we were
Hmm.
always like interested in having fun and like singing and that kind of thing. And I'm the youngest of three girls. My older sister started to do dance class and was into acting as well, and I kind of followed that path. But the main thing that got me into performing was my mum saw that I really enjoyed and had a knack for dancing, because I did a talent show when I was like 7 years old with my friends, and she said, "Oh, I've enrolled you in dance class because I could see that you were really good at it."
Hmm.
And so it just began from there. I started to do jazz, I did tap dancing, and
Hmm.
then I was hooked, and then I just started to do everything except ballet, but everything else I would do. and
Yeah.
i and I just danced for, like, my entire childhood up
Hmm.
until I was about 18. And then it was my tap dancing. So New Zealand is like a little bit of it's a smaller population, right? So my tap dancing teacher happened to also be an actor, a stunt woman, and a casting director.
Jack of all trades, literally. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I was 10 years old, and one day it was a Saturday morning, and I was a bit of a tomboy, and I was like playing video games with my friend. I'd stay the night at her house, and my mum calls up on the telephone, the, like, not a mobile, right? Like the
Yeah.
telephone, and she's
For
like,
those,
"Oh,
for those who are not millennials,
yes,
there's
we
things
had these
other than cell phones. Yeah.
we had these home phones.
Yeah.
And she called me up, and she's like, "Oh, Linda just called me, and she's casting a commercial, and a few people didn't show up, and she thought of you. She thought you could be good. Do you want to come in and audition?" And for whatever reason, as a 10-year-old, that I don't know, like, I like started like welling up, like, gratefully, like, "Oh my," like, like, yes, like, how exciting.
Hmm.
And so she picked me up, and we went, and Linda told me what to say, and I said the lines, and and I kind of didn't know really the rules of auditioning, or like a brand new thing. and and I got the part, and then I got an agent from there, and started doing commercials. And as I grew up through my teens, I was
Hmm.
then doing other television and film work locally, and whatever some international projects that were filming in New Zealand at the time. So that's how it began.
Oh wait, no, I can't can I mention a movie about a ring? Was that a big thing?
I was not in that. I knew people
Okay.
in it. Yes,
Yeah.
that I did not get an audition for,
Because I
unfortunately.
feel like many people, when they think of New Zealand, they think of those movies or
100%.
the many other things that have come from those books and movies.
Good point.
Um,
Yeah.
I just had a cardboard cutout of Orlando Bloom's character when I was in high school from that movie
Yes.
because me, along with many people, fell in love with him. So,
Bit of
yeah.
a funny story. I didn't know I'm gay, and I didn't know that back then, and so I too had a cut out of Orlando Bloom, because that's what everybody did, and I was like, thinking,
Why not?
yeah. So,
Yeah.
but now I know that wasn't. It was more Liv Tyler's character I was actually interested in.
I mean, she's pretty great. She's in a great movie that Tom Hanks wrote and directed. It was his first one, and I love that movie to this day, and I quote it quite frequently in my head.
What one is it?
I don't want to say
Oh yeah, we can't say. Okay.
because I mean, there's a song. I guess I can say the song, That Thing You Do, the song, which is
Mm, okay.
yeah,
Okay.
I
Okay.
think we're fine. I'm not SAG-AFTRA, so it's all good.
Yeah.
And we're
So
not promoting it. We're just saying the title of it. Anyway, and the
let's talk about
song,
it.
the
It is a
title of
song.
the song.
I will look it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so good. Oh man. Now I'm just like thinking of movie quotes in my head from like Steve Zahn's character. Anyway, so did you decide when you went to, I wrote it down, you trained at the New Zealand National Drama School. So what made you decide to go there?
Well, I mentioned my older sister, my middle sister, also began on the performing art route,
Mhm.
and uh, she went to get her diploma at a not necessarily that conservatory. It was a how would I describe it? I don't know. Like it wasn't that one, but it was, like a similar, like a program, a 2-year program.
Mhm.
And then she went on to go to the National Drama School, and I was 6 years younger than her, so I would go as a young person and see her, the shows that they were putting on, the training that they had, and I just kind of thought like, wow, this is something really interesting here. Like whatever is going on. I didn't really know. I knew I wanted to act. I didn't really know what my college years were going to be, or like what my life after high school was really going to look like. Um, but it was the natural thing. Like once I started to go, and the more I went, the 3 years that she was there, the more I was like, oh, how this is so interesting. They're creating something so palpable here. And I had never really done theater by that point. I was always just doing commercials and television, and then just dancing. But I always thought just screen was going to be my journey. And so, but there was something about what I was experiencing at that school, and the kind of beautiful productions that they were putting on, that I was like, yeah, I think I would like to go here. And I spoke with one of their tutors, and just kind of started that connection. And then I was a bit bold, and I went there to visit like a weekend, I think, before the auditions happened, and I went to like sit in one of the movement classes. And after a while, I just got up and joined. And so maybe they remembered me because of that, and because I was my sister's sister.
Well, you're also just really good because you were taking dance for all those years.
Yes, I've always been a real physical performer. It's
Yeah.
definitely been my language. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk quickly before we get into the creeps. I mentioned before we started the podcast, because I did this play in college. I played the nurse, and I had the most Ellen DeGeneres like 90s vest. And it was
Nice.
like the best thing. It wasn't, yeah, I had like the Ellen vest for one scene, and then like another scene, I just had like a denim shirt. That's like my first experience with Crocs. It was great.
Amazing.
Yeah. So Stop Kiss.
Yes.
So tell me about, so it's very interesting how that play is written, because the person who wrote for that also wrote for a certain crime drama
Mm.
that includes law and copping. Again, I'm
Yes.
trying to be like as good as we can be with the strike going on. I think if I say it, it's fine because we're not promoting it. It's Law and Order she wrote for, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why the play is written the way that it is. So
Mm-hmm.
what was your experience like working with on that show?
Oh my gosh, I absolutely loved it. So I first, um, I was in a acting class in Los Angeles
Mhm.
that uh, it was all plays. It was all like, so Los Angeles, for people, I'm sure there are listeners from Los Angeles. It's a film and television town. It's not a
Yeah.
lot. There's
Sorry,
not a lot.
there's a siren happening outside
Sorry, New
my
York.
window. No, that was me.
It's also me, I think. I
Oh,
think it's
maybe
like
we live
at the
close
same
to each other.
time. Do we live in the same
Like,
apartment?
are you in my building?
Yeah. That would be
Where?
amazing. I
Yeah.
live in the kitchen. Do you?
Yes.
Oh,
I mean, I'm
okay.
not gonna like say where I
Yeah, we
am
won't say
on
it
the
here, but we will
podcast.
we'll ask each
Or,
other.
yeah, yeah,
That would be so funny.
yeah,
Because it was literally like at the same time.
yeah. Be like, oh, you're actually like next door to me. Weird.
I
Would be
kind of I kind of hope so. Like
that
not in
would be
like a
great.
stalker way, but just because that would
Yeah,
be amazing.
hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be like, I have wine. Let's go.
Yeah, right. We'll like do this in person.
Yeah. Well, listen,
um,
I haven't done so like pre-pandemic, I did like a bunch of in-person podcasts and they came over to my old apartment. Pandemic happened. Didn't do any in person, always over Zoom. I went to London. I did an in-person podcast with the cast of The Shape of Things, which was playing at the Park Theater there. And then now, since then, everything's been over Zoom. So
a
one
lot
of
of things
these
going
days
on.
it'll be, but I also have a smaller apartment. So to like have somebody I don't know come over is also just kind of weird.
Yeah, I get it. And I don't know, there's something about being in your own space, and we're all so used to it now, aren't we? Like, this is just
Yeah.
what it is. But yeah,
Yeah.
maybe in person very soon. Or if we're in the same building, I'll come
Yeah.
knock on your door and meet you
Or
in person.
vice versa. I'd be like, I got wine. I'm not
Woo!
even a huge wine drinker. I literally have like a wine rack just filled with wine that I don't even, yeah.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Anyway,
Do
yeah.
it.
So back to Stop Kiss.
Yeah.
So LA, known for TV and film. They do have a theater community, I will say,
Yeah.
because I know a lot of people who are a part of it, and I've interviewed people who are part of the theater community, but it's just not as big or as well known as something like New York.
Correct. And we will get to the creeps, like we say, but the creeps really also well 2.0, and you'll get the story,
Mhm.
was very much birthed in the tight knit Los Angeles community.
Hold on, I feel a cough coming.
No problem.
Excuse me. Continue.
So I took this wonderful class
Mhm.
with some of my still dear community and friends to this day, even if they're not living here with me in New York, because a lot of them are all over the place. But uh, it was scene study class, and we did a lot of Stella Adler work. And
Mhm.
my training, we ran the whole gamut at conservatory, and a lot of our unique training came from clown, mask,
Mhm.
physical theater. We trained in circus for a show for Midsummer's Night Dream. Like there was all sorts of amazing things that we did, and we did also obviously a lot of like scene study things. But a lot of our focus was also on devising theater and like physicality, and that's something that I absolutely love. So when I went to Los Angeles, I got in a more of like like a backstory class, right? Backstory. Uh, I feel like I'm using the wrong word, but I'll come back to scene study, say, and it was fantastic, and I absolutely adored it, and we really did all the best plays. That's what we were cast in. Our teacher would cast us and pair us, and we would work on that for 6 weeks. And so, uh, did I do Stop Kiss? I feel like I did Stop Kiss, or I was just so I was this is like years ago now. So I was so immersed in that way of working that when I read Stop Kiss, I felt an immediate connection to it, especially that it's LGBTQ, and the beautiful love story that's in it, and the whole the question, a lot of like they're questioning their sexuality and they're falling in love, and I just thought that was so beautiful. And so when I got the audition for it, I don't know, and I even remember going to that audition and feeling like I don't know how this went,
Yeah.
like it was so in and out.
Mhm.
And I did my thing, and this is kind of true of a lot of auditions. Hopefully I feel like I'm getting a bit better now, but there are still some auditions where I just go, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I'll do my thing, and I don't know if it lands. I hope it does. I kind of love feedback, and when I don't get feedback, it's like it's hard to, I have to really do the mental work to go, let it go, it's all good, right? So anyway, I didn't really know how the audition went, and to my surprise, to be honest, I got the part. And of course now I'm blanking on the character. It
Sarah.
was Yes, thank you.
Wrote it down.
Yes,
Sarah
thank
with no
you.
H, because H's are ill. If anybody gets that reference listening to the podcast, please DM me on Instagram at Theater Enthusiast, and I will like send you like a kiss emoji because like I've been
I
waiting
even
for
don't
him.
know. What is that?
So Jimmy Fallon on his talk show has this character, Sarah, and
Huh.
it's the show Ill, and he goes, Sarah with no H, because H's are L. So that's just like where that's from.
Love it. Love it.
So like I'm just like waiting to meet a Sarah without an H so I can just say that. And the
Love
moment
that.
happened when I was like, oh my God, there's no H because H's are L. So
It's so true.
well, now you can't DM me on Instagram because I just
Sorry, I
reference. It's
ruined it.
okay.
Catherine
You can
ruined it.
still DM
Catherine
me if
ruined
you
it.
want.
Catherine will send you a kiss emoji. If you
Perfect.
say you were going to
Yes.
say to Allison what
Yeah.
the answer
And
was,
then you're seeing the creeps.
I'll send you a kiss emoji.
Or if you like see the creeps in person and you tell Catherine that you listened to the podcast and you got the reference, she'll give you a high five.
It's true. I will. I will give you, if you allow me, I will give you a hug, even.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Even better. Yeah, just follow Allison on Instagram at Theater Enthusiast Podcast. Anyway, so do I mentioned to you that I like do my research and I always research people before they come onto the podcast. So I thought it was interesting how the creeps kind of came to be. It started off with you seeing Mary Poppins on Broadway.
And
And
wasn't that insane?
I loved Mary Poppins so
That's
much. And
what I love.
I loved it. And my family and I always used to see a show the day after Thanksgiving every year. And
Amazing.
that like hasn't happened the last couple of years because my sister now has a child. And I
Mm.
just think like getting older, my like dad and my stepmom, they're just like they don't want to come into the city. And like I'm really the only person in my family who's like theater. I mean, my older sister's like that, but I'm more of a nerd about it. So one of the shows we did see was Mary Poppins, and we did the Broadway Cares thing. So we got to like meet the cast after and go on the stage, and it was so great. And I knew that she flew over the audience, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Um, and my little sister was like, that doesn't happen. Like, I bet you $1. And I was right. But
All right.
yeah, anyway,
Bert
so
also, spoiler alert, Bert also tap dances on the ceiling.
oh, that he
I still
does.
remember that image. This is
Yeah.
like, yeah, years ago that I saw this, but like I still
Like
remember
shout out how much I love Gavin Lee, who is Bert, and I have a photo with him because I was like, I just need to meet Gavin Lee. That's all I care about. So
amazing.
yeah, there's a photo of me and him somewhere on like a hard drive somewhere from my old
Right.
computer. Anyway,
I have photos with Mary Poppins and the nanny from apologies, vacuum happening out there. Hopefully you can't hear that.
oh, I can't hear it. Don't
Okay,
mind.
good.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
There's a vacuum.
there's
So
little whoops of cop cars and everything, but like that siren from like 15 minutes ago was just like so loud. That was just like, sorry guys. But you know, New York, it happens. Anyway, so how did you talked about like the physicality of the show, especially at the end at curtain call, not to like talk for you of them doing like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, which my sister did get the shirt for, by the way. So she did love it too, my younger sister.
yeah.
And then you decided to like do something with it. So I'm curious to know how like the show became or like how you brought that to the creeps, if that makes sense. Like how this like happy show, you're like, I'm gonna do a one woman show, and then you're like, oh, I'm gonna the creeps. There you go.
Yes.
It's just a
100%.
very long question.
No, I
Yeah,
totally get your question.
thank you.
It's quite this, I don't know. I wanna say, I guess it began as a little bit of fate because I was going into my final year, my graduating year at drama school. I was when I was, I don't know, I was 20, I think. I was 20 at the time. In New Zealand, it's a different semester. So our summer is your winter. So our year goes from like January to December, right? So that's our year. And then our break, our summer break is over Christmas and New Year's and then a little bit further. So I had finished my second year. I had that gap over Christmas, and then I was going to go into my graduating year. And through that gap was our what's called a secondment, which you may have heard before. You essentially, I don't know what you call it, like an internship of sorts, or like uh, but essentially we were able to invent or create like what we as a new acting student wanted to do. So 20 of us in the class had totally different secondments, and they were all organized by ourselves. So some people stayed in New Zealand and interned with a casting director to get that kind of experience. Some people did community theater, some people went to France and trained under Philippe Gaulier, the clown teacher. Some people went to the UK and worked with a director at whatever theater or whatever it was. And how I go through the world myself is I'm a bit of a I don't know, I may not have a plan for a certain thing, but all of a sudden, like I'll just kind of jump. I'll just be a yes. I'll just be like I'm gonna do this. This feels really right for whatever reason. I'm gonna go do that. And
Honestly, I had that feeling this morning when I did laundry. So I was like, the moment I was like working, I'm like, I'm going to do laundry. And then I did laundry. So I
yeah,
understand, not to the same aspect, but I feel like we all have moments like that, even if it's as little as like doing laundry.
yes,
Yeah.
100%,
Sorry.
100%. Like
Total side
instinctual.
note. But yeah, it's an
Yeah.
instinctual feeling. Like I've had moments, I mean, we all have of, wanting to do something creative and, it's the process of like getting there and how to do it.
Yes, exactly. And for whatever reason, like sometimes I've had moments in my life where the instinct to jump into something that might be scary or like, or I don't really have any plan really for it or whatever it is, like, but I know the it's so compelling that if I wouldn't do it,
Mhm.
I feel the I don't know, I might regret it or like or I might miss out on something.
Have you ever had moments where you were too scared or hesitant to jump into something like that?
Probably. I think I mean, I definitely have been scared
Mhm.
for a lot for a lot of things. And I think I don't know if I can recall a time where that has, especially when the instinct for to jump into something
Mhm.
has been so compelling. Like this is a bit of a segue, but I remember like I was gonna I was like in a pretty what do I say? I was getting over like an old relationship, and I was like really not in like a like it. I had the opportunity to essentially like assist kind of give my time in a coaching program, like a personal development program,
Mhm.
and which I always loved to do. But it was kind of one of those things where I was like, this is such a bad idea. Like, I know this is going to be like, this is going to take so much
Yeah.
dealing with my own shit. Like, it
Oh, you
doesn't
can you
seem
can
like
say
good.
shit.
Oh, I
It's
can curse.
fine.
Okay, yeah. Like
Yes.
dealing with
Yeah.
my own shit. Like, I was like, why, universe, are you presenting me with this? And why am I so compelled like to say yes when I feel like this like consciously, like this doesn't seem like a very logical idea at all. But it was like, but I kind of felt this like, okay, for some reason, if I say no to this, I feel like the universe is gonna like smack me above the head a little bit. Like it's like one of those things like even though it's really does not seem like a good idea at
Mhm.
all, like it would be a worse idea for me to say no. And then a few months later I met the person I married.
Yeah.
So it's like that so when it has been that compelling,
Mhm.
I I've had, I don't know, it all kind of seems like a bit of a no-brainer for me, like when it is so like that thing, for whatever reason I can trust it and I can like jump in, you
Mhm.
know
Yeah.
so it was like that when I was walking home from school, and this is back when there were like flight centers, like you would go and like book your flight at a shop.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like maybe it was
Yeah.
different in America, but like um they would book your trip for you,
Yeah. Travel agents.
travel agent. You've
Yeah.
forgotten what they're called.
What are they? Oh, yeah. Now they
Not
do
Google is
exist,
the
but they
point.
don't like have stores anymore.
No, no, they don't have store. Yeah, it's all online, right? So this is when like you would go into a store, and this is,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm aging myself. This is only like 12 years ago. But
I
things
feel like you and I are around like the same age. It's fine. So no worries.
have things have changed, right?
Yeah.
Things have changed. So I just kind of on a whim like walked in, and and in that conversation, she was like, well, you're a student. You could go to all these continents and
Mhm.
then have free domestic flights within them for X price. And I was like, oh, well, I'll do that. That sounds great. And I'll go to the UK, and I'll go to, we had a director from the National Theatre direct us in Midsummer's Night Dream. So I was like, well, I'll go and shadow her. I know she's doing a show there. Great. I'll go do that. And I was like, well, I'll go to America. I love America. And I'll go to New York for the first time, and Chicago, and this and that. And so I did do that, and it was amazing. It was extraordinary. I was like traveling by myself with a flip phone, you know, like
Wait,
I
they're
get
making a comeback, so you just shouldn't feel old about that. I mean, I think they're a little bit like fancier now, but flip it. I can speak English apparently. Flip phones is a
no
thing.
internet is the point. Like you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like just kind of going with the flow, like really going with the flow, and had a great time. And then anyway, come to New York for the first time. I am jet lagged, having come from I think France.
Mhm.
I am freezing. I New Zealand gets cold, but not as cold as it does, right?
Yeah.
And I'm on a bus, and it's Sunday night, and I pull up to Times Square, and the lights of Times Square are in front of me, and I'm suddenly like, oh, this is it. Like this is the secondment right here.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I go to see all these shows, and Mary Poppins is the first one. And so going to your question, the finale. So first of all, yeah, I'm as a student, I'm really uh, inspired by and enthralled by the level of performance that I'm experiencing. Like knowing that they're doing this 8 shows a week. This is a 3-hour show, and they're just masters at what they do, right? And so I was already really amazed by that and inspired by that. And then this amazing thing happened, and this is where I'm calling it fate, I think, or the genesis of the Creeps was here, where they're doing the finale, the end of the show. And if you remember, they kind of started this game with the audience where every time you thought the show was going to end, they would do the chorus again, and they would sing it in a higher key. And then they would do the whole chorus again, like the whole choreography again. And they
Mhm.
kept doing this again and again, again and again. And the audience starts to catch on. We're kind of up on our feet. We're clapping and applauding them. We're giving them all of our energy. They're giving us whatever they have left. Where I remember like laughing, like everyone's kind of laughing with them, like, oh, you think the show's going to end? Well, here we go again. Right. And it's this whole
Yeah.
game. And then finally, just when you thought like they couldn't sing any higher, essentially, I'll never forget the man that played Bert and one of the chorus members looked at each other like red faced, sweating, and they looked at each other in slow motion to me and kind of shook their head at each other as if to say, like, here we go, or like, we have to somehow finish this show with whatever we have left. And they hit this note, and I swear to God, there was this pop of energy in the theater from them that hit me in the face like a tidal wave. And I remember kind of like coming to, like being like, whoa. And I was like, what the heck was that just happened? What the heck? And so that was my secondment, because I took that back to school and I did my thesis on what I thought that was. And what I thought that was uh, kind of like you hear about marathon runners or athletes, marathon runners especially, where they say that they reach a point of running where something releases in them and they can keep running.
Mhm.
There's this point of what do I want to say, like point of release where something else emerges in somebody,
Mhm.
and something extraordinary can happen. This kind of like transcendent moment can occur. And then as a performer, how to be so trained, like how to train yourself athleticism wise and vocally, and how to be that trained to perform at that level, how to be that trained that you can allow for something else to emerge in you. And so then right after that, we did one of our major showcases of the year of our graduating year, which is devising a solo show. And 20 of us in the class, we had one director who directed all of us, and we invented a show for each of us. And I started working with that question. So I was really working with like how could I kind of have something else emerge from me? So I started to like do sprints in place, and I would get myself into all these like weird physical positions and allow myself to sit there. And as my heart would race and my breath would change, I would allow myself to kind of talk and find these voices and improvise. And all of a sudden I was kind of channeling these weird people. And I was like, whoa. And the more I did it, the more I trained for that, and the more I allowed myself to go deep, the more a character would emerge. And I was like, who are these odd people? And then my director and I discovered that it became really alive when I was talking directly to the audience and improvising directly to the audience. And then that's where the Creeps was born. So it was this crazy thing of this channeling or like emergence of this characterization. And then I was like, where this kind of feels like a freak show. Like this is like a traveling circus. How weird is this, right?
Yeah.
And that's where it began. And then after that I graduated and I thought I was going to be on screen. And I didn't think anything of it for 4 years.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what happened after college? What was your like next steps? Did you like start doing screen work? How soon did you move to LA? Like what were your steps before you came back to doing the Creeps?
Yeah, so I graduated, and um, some crazy stuff happened. My father unfortunately passed away right after I graduated. I'm glad he saw me graduate. He passed away from cancer, and right at that time, I actually got my first major on-screen role, which it was a local show that ended up going to Netflix, and it was this comedy, and I played this hilarious character who, um, I don't know, she's like, I guess think of like a, how do I describe her? Like someone who is like has no filter, who's like, I essentially, like how I got into character was like changed my voice and like clicked my brain off and was like the worst. Like but like hilarious. Like
Like
she's,
I'm just like nodding. I'm like, I sometimes have no filter, so I understand.
yeah, yeah. And like, but she would say like really racist things and be
Oh,
very judgmental
I'm
about
not.
it. Right?
I'm not
And you
that.
don't,
I'm
no, I'm
not
not
that,
saying this.
guys. I'm not that. I just say,
No.
like,
Yeah,
oh,
this
your hair
character,
is this.
right,
That's
right. No, this character was hilarious because she's, people would, it's like really British television. You know how British television will really like take the mickey out of their own character, you know?
yeah.
So that was the whole piece. And so that was so much fun, but it was this crazy experience where I would go to set and do this totally comedic show, and then I would go to the hospital and like be with my dad. And it was this like really crazy time.
Mhm.
And then my dad passed away, unfortunately. And then right after that, I came out, like I realized I was gay.
Mhm.
Um, and then kind of, lived life and was kind of like grieving and, auditioning and things like that. And then I did some other parts, and I did like a Australian, um, like physical theater show that we traveled around school. And then after that, I was really into Glee at the time. And I was just out, and like Santana and Brittany were like
Yeah.
together, right? And I was like shipping them so hard. And it was really a chance for me to feel some Glee, because I was like still really grieving. And so I remember just asking myself, like, okay, I don't really have anything coming up for the rest of the year. What do I really want to do? I was like, well, I really want to be on Glee. And I was like, what do I need to do to be on Glee? Well, I need to go to Los Angeles. Lucky for me, I'm a citizen. I could do that. So I just did it. I was like, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go give it a shot. And I booked my flight, and I went at the end of the year, and really thought it was going to be a lot easier than it was. But I did get on Glee as like a featured extra, um,
Oh,
which was pretty fun. Manifested that, and then then kind of came to realize that maybe wasn't the way to get the kind of parts that I was hoping for. And then I don't know, it was very interesting to have come from a I really thought it was going to be easier, but life had a different journey for me, and I ended up waitressing and meeting friends and started gaining a community there, and slowly but surely, was in these acting classes, and just kept training, hoping to get an agent, like hoping to get an audition here and there. Like it was tough, it was like really starting from ground.
I like how
Yeah.
you're talking about this too, because especially with like the SAG after strike happening right now, because, you know, when the strike started, there's a lot of actors who say you see like the A-list celebrities and you have hundreds and thousands of all of these actors who aren't of that. I mean, they're amazing actors, but they just aren't A-list or anything like that. And, you could be on like a hit TV show, like you were on a big show in New Zealand, it's on Netflix, and here you are like a struggling actor in LA. So I think that's important for people who are listening to understand that, just because you see somebody in like a big television show and, they could be in like one or two episodes, that doesn't mean that they're like making enough money to qualify for healthcare. And there's a lot of actors during the strike that is going on. Hopefully it'll be over soon now that the WAG strike is over.
Yeah.
Talking about these things. And, you can even go on Instagram or social media and look up all these actors talking about it. So I
All
just
of the
wanted to
stories.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I just wanted to point that out and thank you for bringing it up because again, I like to bring people on to get people's different experiences. So whomever is listening can just hear everybody's story and just like know what it's like to be in the industry. And if they want to make it, to hear different people's stories. And so I think that's like an important lesson as well to be like, what's important to you? Do you want to be famous? Do you want to be a working actor? Like what do you want to do? And just know that it's not easy. Like sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And that was a huge learning and journey. And hindsight's 2020. Like I can look back and go, wow, like what an incredible path my life ended up taking
Yeah.
through this unique, weird physical theater. Started as a fringy show,
Yeah.
and I'm grateful for it because through that, especially the first the last 10 years, but especially the first 6 years in Los Angeles,
Mhm.
where I really thought I was just going to do Scream. I was going to be, it was going to be easy. I was going to be picked up. I've got the talent, right? Like I know what I'm doing. I'm going to be like picked up and be, and live my dreams. And for me, my dream has always been, you know, and I know I am ambitious, and I am like, steadfast
Yeah.
in what I'm committed to. Um, New Zealand is can be a little more humble. And so I remember always, I don't know, maybe feeling like I was a little much with my commitments. But
Yeah.
it's true. My authentic commitment is like Oscar, Emmy, like Tony, like living and working at that level where we see that mastery happen, where we see the impact, you know, trickling out, like to folks like me who I've been inspired by, Kate Blanchett and those amazing performers, right? Like where you're seeing an extraordinary actress do her thing.
Have you ever
And
seen her on stage?
I have in Australia, yeah.
I really wish that I just like wish they brought it to New York, her in Streetcar Named Desire.
Wish.
Imagine. Oh, but no, I saw her do The Maids, like the Lincoln Center Theater Festival like years ago with like Isabelle Huppert before I even knew who that was,
Wow.
and Elizabeth Debicki before like
Wow.
anybody knew who she was. And I
Yeah.
also saw her do like her Broadway debut in this play that her husband adapted, and I can't, The Birthday Party? No, that's not it. I can't remember the name of it.
I might not have been here at the time, but yeah, that sounds just amazing. I mean, she's such a chameleon actor, and raw, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
she's in it. Like she's so in it. You know, there are some actors I love. I'm a real geek to watch other actors do their work. I love it. I think it's phenomenal. I think it's
My
like one of the best things.
Yeah, if like anybody ever asked me like who I would want to work with, honestly, for me, it would just be like sitting in a room watching people work. I would be curious to see because I also love Laura Linney. I would be very curious
Yes,
to see how she works.
100%.
The same thing with like Kate Blanchett, how she works. Also, just like being in like breathing the same air as Audra McDonald would be great. I mean, I have because I've seen her on stage, but like in a rehearsal room, just to like be a fly on the wall, just to like see her do whatever she does.
Absolutely. I absolutely love it. Like
Yeah.
same with Jessica Chastain. Love her
Yeah.
work.
I have
Love that she produces.
I have so much respect for her as an actor. And I think that really like stems back from that show we talked about before the podcast, which I don't like that interview show with questionnaire at the end. Because the amount of like research and work that she does to like look into a character. And I found like she was talking about her first Oscar nominated role in that film. Um, and she was talking about where the character came from, and that helped her realize so much about that character and why she acted the way she did with other characters in the movie. That I
Yeah.
just thought that I just have so much respect for her as an actor.
Yeah, it's so amazing. Yeah, I totally I love it. It's kind of like one of the best. Makes me feel just like I
Yeah.
think it's delicious. I think it's like yummy. You know what I mean? Like it's like yummy to watch.
Well, that's also like why I like doing these interviews too. I mean, like sometimes I forget to ask certain questions, like, how does this happen? Like, what do you do here? But just like because I'm such a theater nerd, I also have like a huge entertainment knowledge base. So like just to talk to people and get their perspective on stuff. And I'm like, yes, tell me more about
You
everything.
know, like we're like
Yeah,
geeking
I'm having
out.
like the creeps moment, like, yes, tell me everything. Um, yeah, no, I just kind of am like, yeah, tell me. Like, I mean, I did have one person on recently, and the fact that they said yes to doing my podcast, I literally ran laps in my small studio apartment when I got the email. They're like, oh, they'll be happy to do it. I was like, what? Like
So exciting.
literal laps in my apartment. So yeah, anyway, now I'm convelling.
I love it.
Right.
No,
I
I
have
get
like the
it.
worst office chair. It keeps like sinking down. So if you see me like going like that, it's just to lift it up. Anyway, so the grapes.
Yes.
It's had many incarnations, I'm sure, over the years. So we were in the midst of talking about like you doing it in LA. So what made you like in LA be like, you know what, fuck it, let's do this show? Like what brought you back to it?
Yes. So again, maybe, and I'm not trying to be like it's fate, guys. Just trust, you know, like I believe in that in
I'm
life.
gonna say like this is
Like,
your journey,
right,
Catherine.
right. But like,
Whatever is that, does that sound LA enough? Like I'm from Long
yes,
Island. So like
yes, it
just
does.
like whatever it is for you, girl, just like
Right.
right,
Yeah,
namaste.
it's like trust in the universe. I mean, I honestly do subscribe to that, but I don't, but I don't want to like make it sound like it's at least for my journey. My journey
Yeah, I
definitely.
always like
Yeah.
this is your journey. It's what happened to you. Like everybody has like their own, stuff. I always say everything happens for a reason. Like the universe is working for you in this way. That's what's happening.
Yeah, yeah, totally. So yeah, it had a really different journey than I thought I
Hmm.
was gonna, I thought I was gonna have, right? And so I was doing this class, like I told you, the scene study class, right?
Yeah.
And then I was working at a cafe, like a restaurant, and a friend of mine said, "Oh, I heard about this clown class just up the street in this theater in Theater Row. This is like right in Hollywood,
Hmm.
and it's the Cirque du Soleil clown from Russia, and he's doing a workshop at this community, right?" And I was like, "That sounds so cool." I was like, I've not done that kind of work in a while. Like I was trained in that. I love that stuff. Like I haven't done kind of physical theater in a while. Like that sounds great. I think I should do that. So I did it. It was like a couple of days. It was really fun. Met a cool group of people. A lot of people like an improv class and clown class really go together in LA, especially like a lot of the time. There's also people like doing UCB and Groundlings and Second City and things, and they're also like being trained in clown. And so I met the couple that ran this theater, and they're from, one of them, I believe she's from Ukraine, and then her husband, I think, trained, I want to say in Boston, like from the East Coast. And this was their language. They knew what it was to be a clown, to do physical theater, and they were living in Los Angeles running this theater. And so I kind of was like, oh, like, oh yeah, my people, like we get it, right? Like we have this kind of the same, right? And I was in their theater and I was like, this is such a nice black box. I was like, I feel like it would be so nice to just kind of be in a theater again and kind of work out a little bit, right? And so I talked to them about it, and they were like, well, we have an artist in residency program that you can apply for, and what you would get is, you could have our space for X hours a week, and you can come and just kind of, devise something or make something or practice your art. And so I applied for it, and I didn't know it was going to be the Creeps at all. I just applied for it, speaking to, I don't know, speaking to devising, speaking to being physical in a space again, right? And so I got the artist in residency, and I was there Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings from like 8 until like 11. And I would just go by myself and turn all the lights off and put music on and play. And organically my body, like it was like right there was to go back into that deep squat and talk like Bill, one of my characters. And I was like, oh, this is so interesting. Like it's so organic. It was just right there to do. And then some new things started happening, some new energies, new characters started kind of bursting out. And I was kind of like, oh, this is kind of funny. Like, oh, what a feisty little girl. She's kind of funny. Like, oh, interesting. And then as the weeks went on, I would invite them in to see what I was making. And they said, okay, what you're doing is really interesting. The Hollywood Fringe Festival is coming up. We think you should give yourself a deadline and you should make a show. And so that's what I did. So I put myself on the Hollywood Fringe, and like pieces of a puzzle, it was just starting to come together, this hour show. And I was really lucky that a couple of my really dear friends from my drama school, so Kiwis and Australians would come to Los Angeles, right? Like to move there, get agents and work in Los Angeles, right? And so a couple of them that I knew were there at the time. And because we all went through the same drama school, we all had the same language that we could speak together, that we understood the kind of crafting of like storytelling that we were doing. So I would invite them, and I would ask them questions, because I really, I trusted that we could talk in a very distinct way. And then they started helping me. I was like, my friend ended up being my technician for the show. And I remember like, it was like my dress rehearsal. I was in tech and I was my dress rehearsal. And this is like, it's like me and him. It's like, like that's our team, you know what I mean? And it's, but it was awesome. And I remember like finally doing the show, like from beginning to end, and almost like coming up for air, like after the show, kind of being like, whoa. And I just remember being like, damn, all right, well, I didn't set out to make a show like this. Like I was never conscious I was going to go, oh, let me write a show about all these sad, dark, weird, crazy things in life. Like it was never like that, it was kind of like, it almost showed me what it was.
Yeah.
And then when I presented it, when I did it and people would start to come, and then I was selling out, and then people, like my last show, people were like standing and sitting on the ground because they had heard about it. And it was that feedback that I was like, oh, this is working. Like, this is a cool, okay, people like this. This is interesting. And then I was like nominated for awards, and
yeah, and you won one. So I'll say it. The Hollywood Fringe Festival Awards. You won the Golden Elephant Award.
Yes.
Yes.
Best female performer.
There you go. Hey, toss hair.
Yeah.
It's up right now, but
Mm-hmm.
So what was the journey to bring it off Broadway now, which, by the way, if you are listening, you do want to see The Creeps. It started, I wrote it down, September 1st and in place till November 5th.
Yes.
So what was the journey like bringing it to New York, and what was the decision to bring it here in this type of theater? Because it's also more in the round at this theater, and you've usually played it in a proscenium. Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Yes,
Proscenium.
that's right. It has been proscenium
Aesthetic.
the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious to know that though, because like you would think if a show is interactive and audience participatory, it would be more of in the round, but because you've been doing it in proscenium, I'm curious to know the differences between the two. But if you want to start with the journey first, and then that question.
Absolutely. So again, okay, so it was like 2014, Hollywood Fringe, did it, had a great time. Again, put it away, thought nothing of it, thought, okay, back to screen, like this is my
Yeah.
chance. I'm gonna get these freaking screen roles, right? I got a manager finally. Like I had a part in like a really indie film. I got a manager from that. And again, really didn't think anything of it.
Mhm.
A couple of years went by, and I had a conversation with a friend when I was a bit down, right? Like, oh man, like a bit frustrated again.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Don't you have a solo show?" I was like, "Well, yeah, but I'm not really working on that right now." And prior to that, I had just started to feel the itch to maybe try my hand at writing, not because that was really when a lot of people were like, "I'm going to write and produce my own web series. I'm going to do like," which is awesome, right? And they became this whole emergence of like writer actor.
Yeah.
It was never because of that. I think it was, I don't know what it was, but it was like, oh, I could just start. Like a friend was like, you should just start and see, right? And so I had some inheritance. I got my dad's inheritance. A little bit of money came in, and I made a short film about his passing, and it was like my first time screen putting something together with a group, right? um, and then anyway, so yeah, I was like a little bit down. I was kind of working on a new idea for a short film, you know and my friend's like, yeah, don't you have a solo show? I was like, yeah, but that's not really what I'm working on right now. And she goes, well, why not? And I was like, yeah, why not? I guess I could, I
Yep.
suppose, and so within a day, I was like back in the Hollywood Fringe, had a new theater because unfortunately the other theater had shut down and they had moved away. Um, Back in the Hollywood Fringe, I had like another community I was doing like another little fringy show with, and just did it again. It was kind of like cut and paste, like cut, paste, produce it again, knew what I needed, um, did it again, and again was reminded about how much I enjoyed it, the special, unique aspects of the show, that it was so unique, and what people were saying. Again, like the feedback of like this is awesome. Like there is something tangible, there is something palpable that happens here, and I don't really know what exactly, but it's really unique.
Yeah.
I felt incredibly fulfilled doing it. And so I was like, you know what? Like, and just kind of out of nothing, I just like created a future for it. I was like, I'm going to tour it. And here's where I'm going to tour it. And then I'm going to take it to New York. And that's what I'm going to do. And I was so inspired that I was also in a professional personal development program at the time that was allowing me a structure to kind of keep myself empowered and put these things together. And I was so inspired by it. And I just posted on Facebook, like, here's what I'm going to do. And I feel so, inspired by this. And a friend at my acting school where I was doing scene study messaged me, and she said, I saw the show and it was really special, and let me know if I can be of any help. And I thought to myself, well, what do I need to tour a show? And I thought, well, I need a producer. So I said, I need a producer. And she said, oh, I've never done that before. Like, I'm an actress, but like, why don't we chat?
Mhm.
And we had coffee, and we just kind of vibing, where we're like, where would we love to go? We would love to go these places in Europe. We would love to do this. We would love to do that. And she went home, and within 4 days, we were in all these festivals, including the Edinburgh Fringe. And it was like, okay, like holy moly, it's happening. And it was amazing because
Also won
I invented the
Best
future.
Actress at Edinburgh, right?
No, I was,
I
I
lied.
wish. That'd be amazing. No,
Yeah.
I did not win Best Actress at Edinburgh. I wish.
I
Um,
thought I read that somewhere, and then today I was looking, I'm like, where is Edinburgh was somewhere. I feel like I saw that, but maybe I just like manifested it for you for your next one.
oh, hell yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
please. You're like best actress off Broadway. I'll take that.
Yeah, the
Drama, drama.
Creeps, Real Housewives, Housewives of the Creeps at the Edinburgh Fringe, Creeps too.
Exactly. Or like, I know I've made it when like other people are creating parodies of the creeps.
Oh yeah,
Like
just
that's
when
amazing.
it's like on, the late night talk shows and the late night sketch comedy show, that's when it'll be big. That's
Yes.
why we say like, you make it big when they make fun of you on Saturday Night Live.
Yes, exactly. So we're
Yeah,
manifesting that. That's what we're
yeah.
manifesting. Yeah, so anyway, so a few years went by, I did the tour. I did the United Solo Festival and won awards there, and then came back to Los Angeles and again had like a bit of a moment of like, oh, I just did this big grand thing and what's next for me? And but I really felt having performed it in New York, like I really do feel like it's time for me to be in New York. And I think that I still think that there's a future for the creeps. I wasn't 100% sure like what it would look like, but I was still making and like indie producing like media and film and collaborating and still doing that too, which I felt very fulfilling. So over those years, where I thought I was just going to be hired as an actor, I started to discover myself as someone that could make something happen, like literally produce something into being, which
Yeah.
felt incredibly fulfilling for me. And I'm hooked now. Like I'm like production
You
company, absolutely.
ever put yourself like in a film that you produced, or do you keep that separate?
I do, yes, I have. And
Okay.
it may not be like the lead. There has been like a short film that ended up. It's actually called Creep. I think you can watch it on YouTube. It's my ode to Darren Aronofsky, who's one of my favorite filmmakers, and it's a really raw. It was kind of like I took like a little aspect of a character of the Creeps and kind of blew her up in a different context,
Mhm.
and made Creep on like $3,000 with friends, which I actually really love it. I think it's really cool. You can find it on YouTube,
Yeah.
and it's very dark and interesting. And
Very Aronofsky-esque, right?
indeed, it was like my ode to Black Swan, my one of my favorite films for sure. And yes, I love it. So yeah, so I was developing all that, and then I was like, yeah, it's time to move to New York. It was time. I would say in terms of, I don't know, maybe fate or the universe or whatever. It was like time. I moved here, and a few years went by, and I did United Solo again, and won an award there again, and still kind of figuring out like what trying to crack the code, like trying to crack the code, like okay, I'm still auditioning, I'm still making film here and there, but I'm still not quite in it. Like how do you get in
Yeah.
to this New York theater community? Like how do you get in, right? Like and and then I decided to uh, do a bit of a street performance in Times Square of the Creeps before like TikTok was like a massive thing. Like I was just kind of like there out there like doing this like weird street performance. And it was then that I started to like feel it in the round actually. That's when I was suddenly like, this is like a big circus tent in a way. I feel like this maybe could live in bigger spaces. Okay, like how interesting. Um, and then life happened. I pandemic happened. I met the person I married. I went back to New Zealand and then came back. And then um, my wife actually was like, okay, like we're back here, like TikTok, and like lit a fire under my butt essentially, and was like, okay, go make something happen, And I was like, okay, fine. Like, well, okay. Like, the question of the century, how to make something happen in this industry, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
okay. And so I cut like copy paste, produced the creeps again myself and did it at the Flea. And just for a couple of performances, I had been really intentionally networking with different people. I ended up meeting a really nice guy who had co-produced in theater. He invited another co-producer. They came to see the show. They really enjoyed it, and then they said, hey, you should do this again. You should go to this theater. They specifically said Playhouse 46 off Broadway. And they said, it's in the round. And I went, Times Square. And I was like, okay, I can do that. I've been thinking about that. I've been thinking about doing that. And I thought I was going to hire it for like a week.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, no, not even a week, a night. Like I thought I was going to like hire it for like a night, on my own dime, and invite investors and producers and just kind of try and get more people to their eyes on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to the theater. I had a meeting with the theater manager and was telling her about the show. And lo and behold, timing and the years of all of this leading up, right? And she said, oh, this is so interesting that you came to me, because I have this other show that's looking for a play to share the space with for 12 weeks. And I think this could be perfect. And I was like, wait, did I just get offered like a 12-week season off Broadway? And I was just like, yep, I'll do it. Like, I'll do it and I'll freaking figure it out, you
Yeah.
know? And that's how that happened. Like a little bit of, like I said, timing and preparation. And I think personal preparation in terms of like, I have produced this. I
Mm-hmm.
have produced things and put it together and figured it out. And I have the vision, I have the creative vision, I know what's needed. And that I can always stand on that laurel. Like, and I can always stand on the creative vision that I have. And I could stand on the laurels of the awards, the reviews, the festivals, the feedback. Like, I knew this was unique, and I knew that I had the tools to do what was necessary to make the promise of the show present, which is often having people really connected to some form of darkness within them, and really connected to this the likeness and humanity within all of us, even though they're kind of engaging with some creepy people, or they're engaging with maybe who they usually wouldn't. But
Yeah.
because we're under the safety of a theater, I know I can disarm them. I know I can make them laugh, and then I can really gut punch them with something. And so I knew I could stand on that laurel, and I could make it happen.
Well, I know that we've like touched base a little bit about like the different characters and different like the darkness and the lightness of the show. But for those listening, can you tell us what The Creeps is actually about?
Yes. So The Creeps is a solo interactive dark show where you'll meet a child, you'll meet a woman, you'll meet a man, and you'll meet a lizard man, I suppose you'll meet, or an MC. You'll meet the MC, and you'll also encounter a mystery there, and the audience walks into this ambiguous space, and what they're coming to is kind of like a club, right? Kind of like a club, like a cabaret, where they start to find out, well, if you like engage a little more, if you pay a little extra, oh, if you go a little further down the stairs, well, maybe you might get a little lucky, right? You might get some fun here and there. You might get like a little bit of drink. You might get a little bit of drug, and how things kind of in the underbelly, of nightlife kind of
Yeah.
occur, right? So that's where people come into, and they're met with so the whole premise of the show is like that's where they come into, and all of a sudden they've made a wrong turn, and now they're in the basement, and now they're engaging with people that exist in the basement, and you find out the mystery of why they do, and you find and in conversation you encounter the story of, and they're all different, all the different stories of how they came to be here, and what exactly has made them entrapped by the villainous doctor, who you will encounter as well. And so, that's what it's about. Like, that's kind of what happens. And then there's this whole aspect of anything can happen, because it's never the same show twice,
Mhm.
because of the audience interaction and the improvisation. And then also this other aspect where it's a bit of a Trojan horse. You're there for like a fun experience and a bit of a creepy, weird, spooky experience. But what you're left with, is like this kind of uh I don't know. I think people are often left with like, wow, I'm lucky. You know, like I'm lucky, I'm fortunate. I have a real sense of connectedness to people that I um and I do this too. I mean, it's so easy to shy away from the, you know, from the reality of folks that we see at Port Authority or in the subways, folks that we hear about who have been trafficked. You know what I mean? Like there's all these very real things that go on in the world. And even my character says like anything can happen, sometimes pointless, and you hear about it and it just seems pointless, right? But it does happen. And so that's where people are like, they're really disarmed because they're kind of like, it's pretty comedic in ways, and the show is pretty comedic, but they're also left like, holy moly, I've kind of been on, some people say like a roller coaster of emotion, right? Because they're really like presented with maybe the fringes of society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a roller coaster of emotion for the people seeing the show, but how is it for you performing it? And, you know, 'cause you come from a dance background, as you've said, and you've studied movement and clown. So I feel like the physicality probably comes a little bit easier for you with the show. But how is it for you as a performer coming down afterwards doing a show like this? And how do you take care of yourself physically as well as mentally going into the show, and also knowing that in your interactions with people that they're going to have certain reactions to the show afterwards or maybe even during?
Yes, that has been a real amazing learning.
Mhm.
um, I knew it was going to be tough physically. I knew it was going to be tough to do it six times a week, you know, for this run. I usually train for it beforehand. So like I'm a pretty active person, but I intentionally train, excuse me, I intentionally train like I go to the gym, I like, you know, I do, it's a very like, there's like a squat, like my character like squats for like 15 minutes. And so I like not like doing squats but like sits in a
Yeah.
squat, right? And so I do like weight training and that kind of thing, and I get myself as kind of ready for rehearsal as I can. And then I just have to really listen to my body, and I have to do um a good warm up. No, I've learned not to work out as a warm up. It has to be like actually quite gentle in a way. Like I have to stretch, and I have to do like a really, really um, multifaceted vocal warm up, because they all sit in a really different area of my voice, and and I need to stretch, and then I sleep a lot, and I have to eat a lot, and then I rest. I have really learned how much rest. Um, I rest and then I go to the show, you know, and then I have dinner, and then I shower, and then I go to bed. Um, and luckily, I mean, luckily, like I've really intentionally made every performance. I say to myself, like, I'm here to provide value for everybody that's here. I'm here to share the humanity. I'm here um, to disarm, to impact. I'm here to have a great time. Everybody is my audience. They're the most important people, and that's what I create for myself before I go on stage. Because and I notice that every time before I go on like that, I have to do that, because otherwise I think I would totally get anxious. Like I would totally get in a bad mind space. And it can still pop in. Sometimes I'll be doing it, and for whatever reason it's more of a quiet night, and like maybe they're just feeling like they're feeling the darkness in a new way. Sometimes people are like really, really chatty and it's lighter, and some people, like just last night, there was like I was like, oh my god, they hated it. Like, oh my god, they hated it, they hated it. But then half of the audience waited to talk to me afterwards and was like, oh my god, I'm telling Pete, blah blah blah, and like, and we're all talking about it, and what was that, and can I ask you about this, and like, and they were enthralled. So like I always have to remind myself, like, okay, you know, like maybe they don't, maybe they're just feeling the show, you know.
Yeah.
Like it's it's been a real journey in learning mentally, like for me. And you know, because it's like it's so important to me that I do my work, you know, that the show exists in the way that the show should. and that it connects to people, that's like so important, right? And that's like number one, right? And then should that happen, hopefully it's a success, you know what I mean? So that's what I do. And then I don't drink when I do the show. Um and I just try to take it easy. um yeah, and then I just keep focused on my intentions for the show, and that's how I do it. And then physically it's okay, like it's actually like when I'm in it, I'm in it, it's awesome. And then I go home and then I shower and then I eat and then I'm like bed. It's like bedtime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand that so completely. So you talked about, you want people to take away like the humanity of the show, but other than that, do you have anything you want the audience to take away after going through like 70 minutes of the journey of the creeps with you?
What else? I think that's the main thing. I mean, I also hope they have a blast. I hope that they are on the roller coaster of emotion. I
Mhm.
hope that they think about it for weeks to come. And I know that people have told me that they have. And so I hope that it's something that, yeah, stays with them, that they can reflect on, that they I don't know, I think this is the power of storytelling. It creates an opportunity to maybe not change, maybe it changes hearts and minds, but at least opens a door. It opens a perspective, and that's what I hope.
Yeah,
That,
that's what I love about a really good piece of theater, where it just kind of like sticks with you. And I tell this story sometimes of I've been seeing shows for like since I was 5, so like blah blah years. And the last show that like really rocked my core was The Ferryman.
oh,
And
yeah, I don't
the
think I was.
most, I'm sorry.
I don't know if I was here for that. I didn't see it.
Sorry,
I'm
I'm just like I'm convelling over it. I saw it twice and I got myself a much better ticket the second time I saw it. And even though I knew what happened at the end, I was still shocked by it. And I think like something most recently that I saw that came pretty close to like shaking me to my core, although it didn't, was Prima Facie.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Me too.
Even though like I have been told by members of my families who are lawyers, that's not how you're supposed to pronounce it. I think it's actually Prima Facie.
Prima facie, yeah, yeah.
And she's like, why do they call it that? I was like, I don't know, because it's easier for people who are not lawyers to pronounce. But yeah, that's what I think is so great about theater is like there are some shows that just like rock you to your core and you still think about it like days, weeks, months, years later. And what good segue. So I mentioned before we started, I'm going to ask about top going theater experiences other than Mary Poppins.
Yes.
Because I had a moment like that too when I saw talk radio when I was in college with Liev Schreiber, and I was an acting major, and I just said to myself, "Oh, so that's what acting is," just like watching
Wow.
him perform on stage. So like they and I've had many other theater experiences top going, but when you mentioned that, I was like, I had a moment like that too, but it was so different than yours. So enough about me. What were yours again, other than Mary Poppins?
Yes. So a few stand out. The Encounter by Simon McBurney, solo show. He's the creative director of Complicité Theatre from London, and I saw The Encounter when it was at on Broadway, and then it did this big tour. I think it was like national tour, international tour, and I saw it in Los Angeles. And I just remember at the end being like, okay, this is what's possible for solo theater.
Mhm.
Holy moly, like transported. He did it. The whole design of the thing was really bare. There was a microphone, like a face microphone in the middle of the scene of the stage, and he would use it, and we all had headphones. The whole audience had headphones, so it was as if like he was like speaking to us, or like rain, like Amazon rainforest would be here, and his character would be here, and that character, and it was unbelievable. Like I have chills even thinking about it. It was so absolutely transcendent. It was absolutely powerful. It was really to my taste, I think. And I love a spectacle. I love all that kind of, but my taste is also I think probably because of my training, and what the creeps is too, is like there's almost no set.
Yeah.
It's the whole point is I am transforming in front of your eyes to
Mhm.
immerse you into this whole other world. And if I'm doing my job right, I will disappear in front of you,
Yeah.
even though I don't have a costume on. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And
Yeah.
so it was a similar thing. There was a way to transport people, um, and that's very innovative. And so yeah, I'll never forget that. I wonder if he'll ever bring it back. I hope he does. I think it was extraordinary. And also, yeah, Prima Facie recently, absolutely. I remember just at the end feeling like in the presence of greatness. And she is truly a chameleon in everything she does. She's extraordinary.
I
And
just remember I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't cry, but
yeah,
like I was right there on the brink of tears. Like, and I was walking home and I'm like, I want to be bawling on the sidewalk, but I just needed to be like in silence
yeah,
for like the rest of the night. And I didn't want to talk to anybody. Like I usually call my mom on my way home from like seeing a show. But I just needed to be in silent. It was just exquisite.
yeah. I'm so with you. I actually felt the exact same way. I stayed back at the stage door, but I was like, I was like, I don't want to break the spell. I don't
Yeah.
want to go up to her and go, ah, like love you, right? Like, which I totally, I would totally do because I love her. But like, I was like, I'm not going to break the spell. I want to like stand back. I just want to like be with it all. I want to like see her and like kudos to you in my own way.
Yeah.
Like, thank you, goddess. You know what I mean? Like, thank you, extraordinary actress, right? But yeah, I felt the same way. Like this, yeah, yeah, like felt like palpably moved, not crying at the same time in the presence of greatness. I was like, extraordinary. Um, and then the other I will say is Cynthia Erivo in The Color Purple. Bold,
I
bold,
I'm having,
bold,
she's
bold.
actually, well, maybe I said after, like, she's doing one of your top going experiences that you just mentioned. She's doing the film version of it.
She is.
Mhm.
I am so excited for that.
And she's
Holy
also producing it. So I'm sure, like, when
moly.
it was announced, people are like, why is she doing it? And this other person isn't. And I'm like, because she's producing it.
She's,
What do you expect?
she's amazing.
Yeah.
She's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I sobbed on her shoulder
Oh,
at the stage door after Color Purple because I could not stop crying because of I think it was maybe because of um the last note she sang. It was like that was the thing that like I was
yeah.
like waterworks. I was just like I mean she's a master. She's a master. I think it was that. It was like in the presence of mastery, right? And I remember being like, I was actually doing the creeps at the United Solo Festival. So that's like why I was here for that weekend. And I remember being like, I need to tell her. Like I need to tell her that she impacted me so much. And I wrote on a piece of paper, thank you for going so deep. You moved me beyond comprehension. And then I stayed at the stage door and I was still like blubbering away. And then I remember even this, she was so graceful. She came and gave eye contact to every single person, like
Mhm.
honored them, like this kind of like, like, hey, I see you. Thanks for being here. Like did not take it for granted. Like it was amazing. Even that was inspiring. And then she came to me, and I was like, like this is for you. And she like looks at it. She looks at me. She's like, I'm gonna read this later. And she goes, come on, yep, we're doing this. And I like, leaned in on her shoulder, just like sobbed. And I was like, oh my God, I'm amazing. And then I was like, I don't know, I like ended up tweeting her, like, I'm doing this show and I would like love for you to come. And she was like, I totally would, but I have a show that day. So anyway, I don't know if she'll remember me, probably not, but I hope to meet her again one day.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Maybe you'll listen. You could be in that movie. You could be a featured extra in that movie. You don't know.
Hell yeah. Would love that.
Well, we can make things happen. So aside from being a featured extra in that movie,
Mhm.
do you have any like other dream roles or projects that you would want to do?
Gosh. I mean, so many. I just want to be working all the time, like I want to be I love having my hands in every aspect of the creative process. I want to be working on the levels of the likes of Cynthia and Kate and Jodie, and producing and writing like Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and really producing like Jessica Chastain, and really, yeah, like creating on those levels. I think in terms of a part, I've always wanted to play Juliet. I never have. I'd love
Like
to do.
weirdly, I have always wanted to too, but I don't think I'm like so right for, and also like Alice from Alice in Wonderland, I've always wanted to play. I've like never admitted that to anybody, but I
That's
don't know.
amazing idea.
Yeah. Well, you could produce it and I'll be there. They
Yeah.
I have a
Okay.
degree in acting. My joke is I act like I like people, but I'm not. I do.
Are you acting right now? I hope not. I hope you actually like
No,
it.
no, no, no. I'm not that good of an actor. I think it's funny because I had a friend of mine who actually lives out in LA. She was in town for like a quick few days and she came over to my apartment like a week or two ago and we were talking about it. And I said, I think I'd probably just be like better as a director,
Hmm.
because I mean, everybody who has listened to this podcast has known this, but you and I are meeting for the first time. So during the pandemic, I directed a bunch of virtual play readings. So,
Fun.
and there's one play that I directed specifically that I still have a dream of doing a stage production of.
What was it?
So, I'm sorry,
What was it?
of The Shape of Things.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. So like that is still like my manifestation stage production of The Shape of Things. I already have the cast in my head. I am like manifesting it like nobody's business.
Yeah,
I like told somebody like when you come back from this trip you're on, you are going to help me make this into a reality because like
absolutely.
it can
Fantastic.
happen.
I'll be there.
Great. Thank you. You can be a co-producer if you want.
Hell yeah.
The
I'd love
audience,
to.
like, what's up, y'all?
Fantastic
No,
play. I love
no.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. That's awesome. And I think, I don't know, I bet I'm gonna like think of it when we get off the spot, like that I'll be like, oh, this, right? But I,
You could think, like going back to the Juliet thing. So, I mean, a couple of years ago, they did like a benefit reading of Romeo and Juliet at Shakespeare in the Park, and Meryl Streep played Juliet. So, you
bliss.
know, there you go. It's Shakespeare. Do whatever the f you want.
Yeah, true.
Just wear a white baby doll dress, put your hair in pigtails, and call it a day.
It'd be even cool to do like a not Romeo, but like a LGBT, like a woman.
They actually, going back to college, they did a both female Romeo and Juliet, like
Yeah, I love that.
females.
That'll be beautiful. Yeah, I really enjoy, telling those stories too. Like that's
Yeah.
very authentic to me. And I mean, Carol is like one of the best. Working with, I would love. Here's what I can say. I would love to work with like Todd Haynes,
Hmm.
Darren Aronofsky,
Hmm.
um, Jessica Chastain,
Hmm.
Kate Blanchett. I feel like I can answer it like that. Like whatever we do,
Hmm.
I wanna be like making the work with them. Like not just acting, like making it. Making it with them. Yeah.
What's great too is that Blanchett and Chastain are also theater actors.
Yes. Yes, they are. Yeah.
Just saying, if you're listening,
Please listen. Come
what?
see the creeps.
So our time's come to. You can stay on after we stop recording. But thank you so much for coming on. It was so lovely chatting with you. I feel like I have a new friend now that we may or may not live like right next door to each other. That we've It's not the same building, like probably a couple of blocks away. So go see The Creeps. Should we do like a creepy voice? Like The Creeps.
The
Ah,
creeps.
more like
The creeps. That'll be Elizabeth. The creeps. Come see the creeps.
come see the creeps, y'all. Whoop, whoop. It's just like I got a flashback. I hung up with my niece last weekend and she loves this book called New York Baby. So I kept going, New York Baby. And she's almost 5 and she just like didn't appreciate the voices I was doing.
I didn't get it.
Like New York Baby. And I was like trying to get her to do it. So she kept going, New York Baby. It's like, all right. Anyway, so The Creeps is playing at the fort. I wrote this down. Playhouse 46 at St. Luke's. Well, it's already September something, so it already started, but it plays until November 5th. Go get your tickets. Follow Catherine on Instagram at,
Catherine Waller official.
yes, and that way you can tell her whether or not you listen to the podcast and got
Mhm.
the ew reference, and she will give you a hug.
Yeah,
Or you
exactly.
can just also cry on her shoulder like she did with
Oh my
Cynthia
God.
Reed.
Yes. We
Have you
like,
had an experience like that with like somebody who's just been like emotional after the creeps? Like, have you had that interaction yet? Like the first time I met Laura Linney, I cried and she touched my elbows.
I love that.
And yeah,
There hasn't been tears, except for friends that have seen it like as a friend show that have now seen it and they were like, oh my God, like yay, like look at how it's like progressed and like
yeah.
transformed. But otherwise it's more like, oh my God, it's like that's more I get like wow, like it's more like a wow than like a which is
What's
cool.
gonna happen? Like, you're gonna have like so many creep fans that they're gonna come to you and just show you like a tattoo of your face as the wizard character.
That's epic. I wouldn't know I've made it. I also, if like in Halloween, people should totally come in costume. You're welcome, listeners. Please come in costume. It'd be awesome. I was like, I know I'll make like if someone comes as me, like in a black leotard with a ponytail to the creeps,
Mhm.
I would love it. I think
Well, I
that'd
mean,
be
I just wear black most of the time. So if I just showed up in like all black and a ponytail, does that count?
yeah, yes, I guess because
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about. So yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be
Right.
fun.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. And thank you again. And go see the creeps.
The creeps.
The creeps.
Thank you, Allison. Thank
Thank
you.
you.